Welcome to the Broadway Shuffle. We have got the home team here tonight. Clayton, Zyler, Conrad are here. I am your co-host, Brennan, and we are going through the Mount Rushmore of Texas Tech athletes. Who are our four best Tech athletes of all time? We debate next on the Broadway Shuffle. But first, Conrad, you get the first word of the episode.
Yeah, we just a short while ago, we witnessed the Texas Tech softball team losing game one of the College World Series to, unfortunately, there's no one worse to lose to than the Texas Longhorns. And so happened on some questionable calls, to put it mildly, but we did lose that game, and we're sitting here down 0-1. Tonight, as you're listening to this, we will try and keep it alive. I have faith in our team. I think we'll do it. We'll get to game 3 on Friday night, but we'll see what happens. So that's the first word of what's happening in Texas Tech sports. But really excited for this episode, and excited to see where we go with this one. This will be fun.
Yeah, I'll be making my way to Oklahoma City this afternoon, being at the game tonight. So we're guaranteed a dub tonight. I'm not going to see a loss. You know, I have faith the Lady Raiders will get it done tonight at Devon Park and force a decisive game 3 on Friday. Tough loss, but that's the best part of having a best of 3. It's not win or go home just yet. So you get one more opportunity. It'll be exciting. I've got to say, man, what spurred on what we're talking about tonight was we were having a debate off air on the Mount Rushmore of Texas Tech athletes, and Zyler Buchanan kind of brought that on. I was like, if Texas Tech softball were to win this national championship and go 2-0 against the Longhorns Thursday and Friday, where would Buchanan rank? And it kind of got us into thinking, what would our Mount Rushmore be? So that's what we want to get to tonight. The Mount Rushmore of Texas Tech athletes. Zyler, I know you're excited for this one. This was harder than we thought. And by the way, none of us know the other 4. So we've all been waiting to share our 4 Mount Rushmore live. So Z, this is going to be a lot of fun tonight. Going to be a hot debate on some athletes, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm going to get into my Mount Rushmore. I just got to vent real quickly about the softball game because I'm still kind of fuming that we lost. I cannot believe the intentional walk that didn't work, and they somehow played it 2 runners on that. That was insane. I know we got incredibly fortunate on that obstruction call. And I know, man, it's just like you're so close. And it's like they score off of Nigerie's not even trying to pitch, and that's how they get their 2 runs. It's just incredibly frustrating. She hadn't thrown an intentional walk all year, and you try to pull it in the World Series. That's tough. But I mean, that's the way the sport goes. And Brennan, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be there tonight, so we'll have our 2 aces in the hole. Y'all will be there ready to rock.
I'm sitting next to him, actually. Yeah, we were texting before. Okay. Yeah, I'll be hanging out with him at the game.
You usually correspond with Brittany, so I figured y'all guys would at least communicate.
Yes, yeah. Brittany and I go way back, back to the high school days. But she hasn't been responding to me much lately. I don't know why.
Yeah, she's got to go through that.
Yeah, she's got a lot going on. Clayton, yeah, that was the tough loss. Obviously, before we get to Mount Rushmore, your thoughts on the softball game, I guess, before we transition out of it.
Yeah, pretty much same as Zyler's. I mean, we were lucky to have a run on the board, to be honest, with the obstruction call that probably shouldn't have been called. But I've never seen a freaking 2 RBI single off of an intentional walk. I don't know whose fault that exactly was. I mean, the catcher she was standing up, but she wasn't moving out of the zone. She was just standing right there. But then as a pitcher, I feel like you got to throw it outside yourself.
Yeah, the first 2 pitches were strikes. Like, I literally thought the first 2 pitches were strikes.
I know.
It was like
the ump was only calling them a ball because we were trying to.
Yeah. And, oh, man. I mean, softball is quirky. Like, I'm obviously not the biggest watcher of this sport, but have enjoyed watching the ladies through this whole postseason run. But it's like little bump singles, just bloops over Nigerie's head, and these like weird, there's not a lot of runs when there's these dominant of pitchers. Like Texas Tech has only scored 3 runs at most in one game so far. It's like you feel like you got to give her some support. I just feel bad like watching, like, man, you can't expect to win games and only score 1 run. Like, she's not going to give up 0 every game. So it's tough, but we'll hopefully they catch fire tonight at Devon Park. So
truly, the thing that lost you the game was having the bases loaded with no outs and not getting a single run. Yeah, that's what screwed you more than anything.
Yeah, for sure. So, but anyway, there's time. We haven't lost hope yet. So we'll get the win and continue. Hey guys, before we get back to the video, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Broadway Shuffle. Thank you. Now back to the show. Okay, so will Buchanan make the Mount Rushmore of some of our lists? We'll have to see. 1 year at Tech, does that qualify you to get in? I don't know. So without getting too much into it, because I just kind of want to riff like right off of this and just go, because I don't know who y'all picked. Who wants to go first? Like who wants to go to the chopping block and go first? Conrad, you want to go ahead and give your Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, I want to volunteer to go first, because I think I don't think Brennan.
Sorry,
you may go.
Before I go, just for people that are aware, Mount Rushmore is a monument with 4 presidents' head on it. Up in gosh, I hope I don't play.
It's South Dakota. I'm pretty sure.
Is it South Dakota? Yeah. And so just if you're curious, that's 4 people that we're choosing tonight. So
this is for our listeners overseas.
Yes,
Yeah,
we do have them. We have some non-American
Yeah.
listeners. So okay, Conrad, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this was a hard debate, or in my own mind, of thinking, okay, who, Texas Tech has so many athletes that we love and we care about, we follow, and we appreciate them so much for what they've done in the past. I mean, I think about, different guys like Cliff Kingsbury, like Jarrett Culver. I mean, those are BJ Simmons, Sonny Cumbie. Like, there's so many guys that we, Eric Gutierrez, who we had on the show. I mean, there's just so many guys. But
if you would put BJ Simmons in the Tech Hall of Fame, Mount Rushmore,
I'm not. That's not my Hall of Fame. I'm talking in general of the great guy. Hey, don't interrupt a man while he's talking. I mean, come on.
Sorry.
I'm
building the floor. It's Conrad's floor.
I'm building to something.
Yeah.
I will announce it when it's mine. So, without further ado, I'll announce my Mount Rushmore, and I think this may surprise some people, but I think it'll be good content, and that's what really matters. So, first and foremost, we have Jackson Tyner. We got Jackson Tyner.
I knew he was going somewhere.
Second, we've got McLean Carter, former Texas Tech quarterback. Third, we have Sterling Porcher, Zyler's favorite player of all time. And then fourth, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. 7-year quarterback Alan Bowman. So those are my 4 Mount Rush. No, I'm kidding. Those are not actually my 4. I just wanted to see what the reaction would be.
That was
listeners,
good.
let me know what you thought of those. That's probably the infamous Mount Rushmore for me. Now, I'll start with the obvious, to be serious now. Number 1 for me is I did not choose this based on solely what they did at Tech. I tried to look at the whole picture. And so because of that, number 1 for me is obviously Patrick Mahomes. That was my thought. I mean, just what he did at Texas Tech. I mean, didn't really have anything on the defensive side of the ball, still put up crazy numbers, was electric on the field, made some of the coolest throws we've ever seen. Obviously, those of us who were there, like these guys on the podcast and myself, we know how special he was because we got to see him. I don't think we ever expected him to be what he is today, but I do think we saw something special on the college level. And now that we look back, it's like, okay, he had all the tools and he went to the right situation. So obviously he's done what he's done with the Chiefs, and then his love for Texas Tech as well. Second for me will be Michael Crabtree. 2-time Blitnikoff winner. I believe he still holds the record for the most yards, receiving yards in a single season. Just what he meant for your program 2007, 2008 was absolutely electric. I don't think I need to explain much there. I think Tech fans still live, plenty of us. I wasn't a Tech fan then, but in the glory years of the Michael Crabtree era, and that brings me to my third person that's going to go on my Mount Rushmore, and that is Graham Harrell. Graham Harrell was, I think, Graham, I mean, what he did and how good he was, how accurate he was, the system he played in, how he operated Leach's scheme, I think was just a different level. Watching that Texas game, I remember, and then some of the other games that year was just he kind of, I mean, if not for that OU game, he may have won the Heisman that year. You never know. I know Bradford had a great year, but Harrell had a fantastic year as well. And then fourth for me is Cheryl Swoops. What she did, I think, was at Tech before any of us were even born. Then going on to have the career she had in the WNBA and beyond was impactful for your school. Obviously winning the national championship there. And so those would be my 4: Patrick Mahomes, Graham Harrell, Michael Crabtree, and Cheryl Swoops. I don't know if you guys have any disagreement, any pushback, any critiques on my presentation there. But those are my 4. That's my Mount Rushmore, Texas Tech sports.
So before we, I guess, start debating them, because I know we're probably not all going to have the same. Let's go ahead and each share. So Clay, you give your 4. Conrad's given his, and then we can kind of dissect from there.
All right. I'm pissed that Conrad started his with a joke, because I was going to make a joke about mine and say Pop Isaacs, Drew Steph, Luke Adams, and Jet Duffy.
Okay, well, you went mainly basketball, so that's fine. Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, so mine is actually really similar to Conrad's. So I have Cheryl Swoops, Michael Crabtree. I feel like those two, I mean, before hearing Zyler and Brennan's, I feel like those two are no-brainers for me. And then I also have Mahomes, which I definitely get the debate for Harrell. Like if you're only choosing one quarterback, for Harrell over Mahomes, but I guess we can get into that after you all say yours. And then my last one I gave to Ludwig Oberg, just because I think in terms of like how good they are in their sport, he's easily one of the top athletes. He's only one of 7 golfers to ever win all 3 Golf Player of the Years in 1 year. 2-time Ben Hogan Award winner, and he's already, doing so well on PGA. So
PGA Tour.
Yeah, so he took my last spot.
Okay, so you say your 4 again, just so I can
Cheryl
keep these.
Swoops, Crabtree, Mahomes, and Oberg.
Okay, so we've got 3 as the same for Conrad and Clayton. So Z, you go.
Yeah.
So, this was tough. I think, to preface, well, I guess I'll explain myself afterwards. Michael Crabtree, Cheryl Swoops, those are really obvious for me, to wax poetically about Cheryl. She was the first of her players signed in the WNBA. She was a national champion, 3-time WNBA MVP. If you had to guess, just off the top of your head, what do you think she averaged in the NCAA tournament when we went to the national title?
I feel like I've saw this, so I don't want to blow it, but I think it was over 30 points.
Yeah, I was about to say 30 or more.
Yeah, she averaged 35.4 points in the NCAA tournament. That is an absurd amount of points, like incredibly dominant. She had 47 in the title game. That's unbelievable. First woman to ever have a Nike shoe deal. Like, she was transcendent for her time. Now, I wasn't really around for Cheryl, but that's unbelievable. Crabtree, obviously, we've talked about him. Second for me, or I guess third for me, is going to be Zach Thomas. He's one of the few All-Americans that you actually have. For me, one of the big things is just, do you have a signature moment that's like etched into Texas Tech lore? And I think that interception against A&M in 1995, plus him having an unbelievable career. He's the only Tech player to ever make the National Football Hall of Fame. And I think that just really pushed it over the top for me. He kind of embodied everything that you'd want out of a Texas Tech individual, overlooked for his size, not necessarily highly recruited, came in and dominated. For me, the collegiate stats have to be there, the accolades have to be there, and then just the cultural impact has to be there. I guess that's the lowest of the kind of 4 or 5 things I was looking at. And then finally, this will be the most controversial one, but Sally Kipyego is going to be my fourth. To me, just national champions hold so much weight. She had 11 national championships during her time at Texas Tech. She still holds the record for most individual championships in NCAA history. She was a long distance runner for you. She was the first player ever to win 3 straight NCAA titles in the 5,000 meter. She won back-to-back U.S. track and field athlete of the year, 2-time silver medalist. Unbelievably dominant, probably the most dominant athlete we have ever had at any sort of position in any sort of sport. Now, I know that's niche. There may not be many people that know that, but when you talk about all-time greats who dominated in college at Texas Tech, I don't think anybody did it better than her, winning 11 titles. So that kind of rounds out my top 4. She has next to, there's not going to be many people that know her, so I understand the arguments against, but that's just unbelievably impressive to me.
Yeah, man, that is a great pick. I mean, I did not know any of that. So throwing it way back, this was hard for me thinking about this and like, how did I want to pick them based off my criteria? So like Conrad starts with Mahomes automatically, and my first criteria X'd Mahomes out because it was like college success. It was like, what did you do at Texas Tech on the field, on the course, on the court to be one of the best athletes in Texas Tech history? So even though Mahomes became and arguably is the most important athlete you've ever had probably come through your university, he did not do what some of these others did on the court or track or whatever. And I think for me, it's like Graham Harrell was the number 1 quarterback that came to mind for me. Retired as the all-time leading passer in touchdowns, first player ever to throw 5,000 yards back-to-back seasons. He was one of the best, regardless of the system he was in. Second 11-win season in Tech history. The best game arguably ever in 2008, the most clutch game. I think of the Insight Bowl too against Minnesota when we were down 38-7 and 1. Like Harold just had so many moments that defined an era of and kind of encapsulated what Mike Leach was and the best teams we ever saw. Not counting the Anderson teams from the 70s and stuff too, and the Rodney Allison teams as well. But it was just that him to me was like the quarterback that I chose over Mahomes for my Mount Rushmore. And then Crabtree was easy as well too. You guys mentioned all of his accolades, but then it got tricky for me. Like this was where the 3 and 4, I was like, okay, Cheryl Swoops, I think for what she's meant to your program, arguably the best women's basketball player of her generation to come out was an answer. And then Clayton, I'm right with you, dude. I went straight to Ludwig. I was like, bro, what he did, it was him and Jack Nicklaus. Like, that's it. That, when you're compared to Jack at Ohio State and what, not saying Ludwig's going to become the all-time major record holder, but when you do what only the Golden Bear, the GOAT, was able to do in the game of golf in college, you're a Mount Rushmore athlete, in my opinion. You were the best of the best at your sport and one of the hardest individual sports, especially in college golf, and took Texas Tech golf to new heights. For me, Ludwig etched out that number 4 spot. And I think, like, you could go, that was a debatable one. Like, putting a golfer in was obviously really tough, but to me, he solidified himself as one of the best all-time Tech athletes.
Yeah, I think that's the criteria is what's really interesting, and that's where Mahomes becomes so, because if he doesn't have the NFL success, he's just like a really sick Case Keenum. You know what I mean? Like, Houston always talks about how electric Case Keenum was. It's like, dude, okay, whatever. Like, he was cool, but what? I guess he probably won a little bit more than Pat did, but Pat's just so interesting to me because if you ask somebody that's not associated with Tech to name an athlete associated with Tech, Pat Mahomes is going to be the answer like 98 times out of 100. And so that's why I think his case is really, really strong. He's so closely associated with the brand. He still reps you. He's been the best athletic ambassador you've ever had in your school's history. And that's where I can hear those arguments. And I think I'd be open to those. His cultural impact is far greater than, maybe Crabtree and Swoops combined, but like, he's in the most popular league in the most popular sport, and he's the best player. Like, that's such a transcendent quality that I think can, beat a lot of other things. Like, if you compare Mahomes to Kipyego, that's where I just had a tough time. But to me, it was the collegiate dominance at your level. National titles are so important. All-American honors are so important. And then signature moments are things like that. Like, Pat's signature moment is, I don't know.
A loss to OU?
Yeah, all the crazy.
And
that's not to diminish Pat. Like, that's really not.
I think it's only fair to push back on that. I mean, Pat obviously did not have the record, but then again, it's a team sport, right? So you even have a top 80 defense, and your win-loss record probably flips drastically. It was just the fact that it was sub, or 100 plus, right? Like, it was the worst. He probably had, a top 5 bottom defense. And I don't know that it's fair to punish a guy for that, because if you give Pat, Crabtree, that O-line, Leach, and a respectable defense like we had in 08-09, 07-08-09, are we having the same conversation? And I know it's, that's very contingent on a lot of things happening. Yeah.
He should have been.
I don't know that it's fair to punish. I don't know that it's fair to punish or not punish, but view him in a negative light because he had literally one of the worst defenses ever.
I'm not viewing Pat in a negative light. I'm just saying, if you're going to put the 4 best faces of what they did at Texas Tech on a Mount Rushmore, he can't be on it just based off of like what he didn't do. It's not maybe what he didn't do, but what he wasn't able to be a part of with the team.
If you want to
around
punish a guy for that,
it's not a punishment. I mean, I would still honorable mention him, and like Zyler said, arguably the most important athlete. If we're going like most important to your program based off what he's done and what he represents, it's Patrick Mahomes without a doubt. But if we're talking the Mount Rushmore of what they accomplished at the university, it when you're thinking quarterbacks, you can't not put Graham Harrell up there.
Or you could just put both.
If we defined it as strictly like what you did at Tech, I would take him off. But we did not put those parameters on it.
Yeah, no, I think honestly,
that's not how I viewed it.
We each put our parameters, and that's why you're fair to. Yeah, in my opinion, I was thinking, what was accomplished within the team? Did you make history? Did you win? Like Graham Harrell won like the Sammy Braw Award. He won the Johnny Unitas Award. Like, it's like, what did you do while you were on the field? What success did you bring to the program or yourself, for example, with Ludwig? It just was too hard for me. I just couldn't get myself to not think about the on-field success.
Did y'all have any basketball players that were close? Clayton, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll answer your question, but the last thing I'll say on Mahomes is like I totally understand all of those arguments, but I think the thing for me that pushed Mahomes into the top 4 was like it's not just that he's a good NFL quarterback, like he's not just a solid, he's like literally one of the top like 3 or 4 NFL players of all time. So, or NFL QBs.
Yeah.
For now.
Really fair point.
But to answer your question, Zyler, I did have actually, I had 2 basketball players. I had Andre Emmett and Jared Culver that I considered.
Dude, I thought about Andre Emmett just because of how good he was for that time. He was an All-American. Like, that's really cool. I thought about Culver too, just because of how fun that Final Four run was. And I think if he won a title, I think Culver would be in there for me. But I just, for whatever reason, he just didn't. I don't know. I couldn't quite.
I agree. I completely. I was thinking that too. Like, where would I when I was going through this, I was like, what basketball player would I put on there?
Yeah,
and you know, and it was like it was Cheryl Swoops. Like, on the male side, there just wasn't enough. Like, if Culver, I think you're right. Like, if Virginia doesn't win that game and Culver was the Big 12 Player of the Year, you win the Big 12. You know what? And got you was he co-Big 12 Player of the Year?
Did he share?
He won it. He won it by himself.
He won it by himself. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, and then you go lead to a title. For example, let's put this into 2026 perspective. If JT Toppin goes and wins Big 12 Player of the Year again, and you go on a Final Four run, or you go win a championship next year, I would probably put JT Toppin in consideration for a Mount Rushmore. You know, so
if he takes you to a Final Four, that to me is such. Even though it's not a title, it's such an electric accomplishment because of how like the tournament
difficult it is. Yeah,
it's
hard.
It's so hard.
And so then it gets to like, well, how do you measure like what the sports? Like, how do you differentiate like what sports? Because Texas Tech football, obviously, like, you know, Z, you mentioned Zach Thomas, and you think of like the players in the '80s, some of the best running backs that we've had, receivers that we've had, you know, defensive tackle like Taj. I mean, you know, like you think this is no disrespect to the great athletes that have come through. But you're talking of the goats of goats across that have worn a double T on their jersey or polo or bib or whatever you're wearing, you know, and it's then like Eric Gutierrez, like Eric Gutierrez would be another in terms of baseball. It's like dude was one of the best to do it in the Big 12 during his time, and you know he had College World Series appearances, and you know it's hard to kind of figure out like what sport you want to weigh heavily more on. It's easy to go to football.
I thought about Young over Gutierrez.
I thought about Josh Young too.
Yeah. Josh Young, yeah.
Because he took you to the World Series. He was unbelievably good, and he's been unbelievably good in the pros. You know, he's just like that. I think Clayton was mentioning it. You went like a really long time without really having like brand ambassadors in any of the sports, and you still don't really have one in the NBA. But now you have Ludwig, you have Pat, and you have Young in the three of the four big American sports, which is awesome. And that wasn't really something you had, say, like 6 years ago.
Yeah, we would have had D5, but.
So I tried to separate. I think for me, I try to separate professional success comparatively to like what you did at Texas Tech.
So but I think Pat's professional success made him like what you've already said, made him an even bigger deal at Texas Tech.
So okay, Conrad,
like he would have just kind of been
the thing I would say. Like, so Zach Thomas, his collegiate career, he was a first team All-American, which is better than what Pat had. You know, he was winning Defensive Player of the Year. He, you know, unequivocally had higher collegiate honors than Pat did. He then went on, had an 11, 12-year career, and he's the only player that you have in the Hall of Fame. Is that not more compelling right now than Mahomes?
No, because if Pat retired today, he'd be probably the second best quarterback ever, if not the best in some people's eyes.
Until Josh Allen passes him in 5 years.
Josh Allen can't win a playoff game.
And Zach had the moments at Tech. You know, like I didn't even watch Zach. I wasn't even born yet. And it's like, I know they still play those moments at the game.
Sure. I think the difference with Pat is obviously playing quarterback. So I'm going to defend Pat till I can't anymore.
And I get a lot of people will agree with Conrad and Clayton on this. And I think I think that's fair, but it's like, I think there is, Isaiah, you made a great point. Like, if he didn't have the NFL success, like, how do we view Patrick Mahomes? Like, do we view him like seriously? Would you look at him like a Cliff Kingsbury or like a Sonny, like putting up massive numbers, but didn't do anything like on the field that was crazily in terms of win losses? That was crazy. You know, he didn't take you to a Big 12 championship. It is. Like the Mahomes stuff is so post Texas Tech. I'm talking specifically on like while you wore the Texas Tech uniform, like what did you do? And he had great games, but he lost a lot of them.
Yeah, go ahead, Conrad.
Go ahead, Conrad.
Brendan, I remember conversations we've had about you not liking the quarterback win-loss stat because it's a team sport, and when a quarterback does everything he can do to win a game, he shouldn't get blamed for the losses. Josh Allen against the Chiefs, like Josh Allen has never lost a game against the Chiefs. He's just gotten beaten. I don't know how many games Patrick Mahomes actually lost, except for Texas Tech, except for the Iowa State game on the road. I think he did everything he possibly could in basically every single other game to make you a, moderately respectful football program during those years. I don't know that that's fair to punish him based on a win-loss record. Where did he take you when, again, what he played with was just not good?
But I think we are rewarding him for that because he was basically a 500 quarterback for you, and we're saying this guy could be on our Mount Rushmore.
I'm like saying he's like 5 or 6, like
It's
Matt.
like SEC strength of schedule argument.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Pat's like not even in consideration here. Like I considered him.
No,
heavily.
that's why I'm saying he should be on. Is like with all of that as well. That's why he's on mine too. Is because of that.
Yeah.
Like think about if like I don't know, Alan Bowman was the quarterback during those years. Do we win more than 3 games a year in those years?
No,
I don't think you win. You mean 2-3 games?
And I think too, I want to be clear. Pat's probably my favorite Tech athlete of all time. So it's weird for me to not be in a position to like defend him. Like I have plenty of burners where I'm like roasting Tom Brady and trying to like destroy his legacy as the greatest quarterback of all time. So I can elevate Pat. Like I'm a huge Patrick Mahomes stan. I defend him on everything. So this is a weird position for me. It's just it's such a weird place to. There's just no national accolades. There's no championships. There was no team success, which it's not a team sport, but it's not a what if award either. It's like these could have been the greatest athletes in Texas Tech history during their time. Like, I don't know. It's just hard. It's hard for me to do that. You have nothing really to point to from his career that you can hang a banner for, or there's just nothing. And that's hard because I love Pat.
Like you retired, he was Conrad. To your point, I mean, you retired his number and all that solely because of what he did after Tech. Like it wasn't,
I think that's justified though, in my opinion.
No, it is.
Like,
no, it is, and that's what I'm saying. Like I agree with Conrad in that sense of like he's been so good in the biggest league in the world. Maybe, I mean, I guess if you're a soccer person, you could say the Premier League, but like in the biggest league in America, and he has won MVPs, won Super Bowls, and is doing it all while repping your brand and giving back to your university, and all of that is fantastic. I am not here to say that's not great. I just do not think, like, if I'm comparing the quarterbacks, like let's go Graham and Pat real quick. Like you could say the same stuff about Graham.
Honestly, the part that pushed Mahomes over Graham for me is the fact that even though Graham had way more success, he also never really won anything. Like even though he was way better, he never won the Big 12. Like he lost the biggest bowl game that he was in.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm not saying those are his fault, but it's like, okay, he had better win-loss records, but it didn't amount to any tangible awards or like trophies.
Yeah, well, but you could, when you talk about the wins, like you could, the OU win in 2007, where I know they went 9-4 that year, and it wasn't like the craziest win ever, but you beat OU at home. You obviously beat Texas at home. You go 11-0, or sorry, 10-0, then you lose. And then you go 11-1. It was like, and then the passing records that he set. So the individual accolades, he set like NCAA records. Like it wasn't like maybe he didn't win the Heisman, but he set passing records. He was the all-time leader in touchdowns in NCAA history when he finished. Like to me, it's like he surpassed the records that he broke with what he did over the course of a 3.5-year career at Tech. Like to me, put him there with having the best win in football in arguably your program's history.
Maybe in college football history.
Totally
that was
fair.
epic.
Yeah.
Another thing that was counting for Pat was the fact that he didn't play as long. Like, maybe that should count against him. But like, if he stayed, and if he got the number of passing attempts that Graham did, I think.
Or if he had Michael Crabtree.
Yeah. Or defense.
Yeah. Or an offensive line like Graham had. So
we've got Crabtree and Swoops are pretty much the two absolute no-brainers across the four of us.
Well, let me push. Maybe first. I mean, Crabtree made mine obviously because of what he did at Tech. But if you're gonna take Pat off, if you're gonna determine the criteria and say, well, we shouldn't weigh what that player did after they left Texas Tech. Graham Harrell and Michael Crabtree, no disrespect to either one of them, but neither one of them was an NFL superstar by any means. And so if you're going to weigh that for Pat, I think you maybe could weigh that against if you're looking at the totality of their career. Just making a point.
Yeah, no, I think that's Crabtree was fine. He just wasn't as good.
He was
I think
average. He was
like
average.
He was a
one
good
out-
receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
not probably what you
Yeah.
were hoping for with the 10th overall pick.
Yeah.
No.
So okay,
No.
so let's break down the debateables then as well. So we've got Ludwig made
I almost
before.
went Ludwig because he was
I could
so
go
dominant.
Ludwig.
He was so dominant. Only player
Mhm.
to win it back to back with John Rahm.
Yeah, sorry,
I
it was
could
John
go-
Rahm.
It
Yeah,
was John Rahm. Yeah,
back
I
to
could
back
go.
it was Rahm.
I could go Ludwig. Maybe it's the recency bias for me watching him struggle for the past 6 weeks on the PGA Tour has been hard for my soul. And so maybe when he picks it back up and wins the U.S. Open here in a couple weeks at Oakmont,
Sixth
then
best
maybe he
odds
can.
right now. Sixth best odds.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Did you place a bet on him, Zyler?
No, dude, I'm not gonna. The driving accuracy is going to be a problem in Oakmont. But
Yeah,
I know
it's true.
nobody
Look
wants
at
to hear
me
us talk about
talking
US.
golf,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
What is happening here?
If you
We're
put
gonna have a
stats
golf
athlete
segment.
in
We need
any
to have a
sort of
golf
pro
segment.
sports. Yeah, anyway.
This is
But
great. I
yeah.
love it.
I think Ludwig truly not appreciated enough for how dominant he was in college. Like genuinely, I think he has a legitimate case, and it's not just because of his PGA success, which he's won a tour event and done various other things, but he was amazing during his time at Tech. Without a doubt, the best golfer that you've had, and was clearly the best player in the country for the 2 years that he was, playing that well.
I think he's one of the best. Him and Rahm and
Phil
I'm trying to
Mickelson
think
was
who
a great
else.
collegiate
I mean,
player.
I mean, Woods was obviously.
I'm just thinking recent
Tiger,
history.
yeah.
Like Hovland was really good in college. Matthew Wolff was really good in college.
But they still were not
But
as
they
good
didn't-
as Ludwig.
They didn't know exactly. They didn't touch Ludwig. That's the point.
Yeah. So if we've got, let's say we've got Swoops, Crabtree, and then Z, you and Clay left Harrell off, and then you left. You don't have Ludwig. You've got to. You've kind of
Can I
have
change mine?
You kind of have no. You've kind of got the wild card with the track star.
Dude, okay, so and I get that, like almost so minimal cultural impact, but for me, double-digit national titles is just like an insane thing. Plus, records that still stand to this day, that is like transcendent. That is a generational kind of athlete at that position. Olympic medal, like one of the best in the world at what they were doing at that time. That to me is just like unbelievably hard to deny.
I have another deep pool that I considered. Dave Parks.
Really?
He was a football player in the 60s. He was the #1 overall draft pick.
Yeah.
2-time first team All Southwest Conference, and he's one of the few players to get the triple crown in the NFL: most catches, touchdowns, receiving yards in a season.
Nice, Clay.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this we talk about this in pro sports all the time, like the eras. It's like, oh well, can MJ versus LeBron, but there were three, what Bill Russell versus Magic. Could you do the three? Has the games changed? And the NFL, it's like, does it change? I mean, in college sports and for Tech specifically, I wish I knew more about the 60s and 70s and 80s and like what those athletes did, because I'm sure, and there'll be people in our comments that can help us. Like, there's probably some great athletes that we didn't even consider. I mean, we're just young bucks here, all under the age of 30, right? So it's a little difficult for us, but Clay, I mean, throwing a guy out in the 60s, that's phenomenal. And that's why I think, some people might say Donnie Anderson. They might say,
And he should be considered.
and he should be
Yeah.
considered, and for what he did back in the 70s. And I've met him
Wes
as
Welker.
well. Yeah, I mean, you could.
AJ Holub.
Bubba Jennings.
Yeah, there's a lot of great names, that we're leaving out. But when it comes to the four biggest, and I think it's great for your program and for us too, and for university. Like we said Mahomes and we said Ludwig in terms of like debating in the top 4 or 5, and those guys are in their prime. They're in their 20s. Like this is happening recently with all the media and the social media and the attention they get now. Like Ludwig's got a double T on his back. Mahomes, we've talked about it, with what he reps. Like it's only made your brand bigger. And it's phenomenal to have these guys coming on when they have, because it's just helped your university, which has been awesome.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, go ahead, Clayton.
go ahead, Zoe. No, I was going to say, you also made a great point earlier, Brennan, about JT Toppin. Like, I think him being on this list after next year is very attainable. Like, he's going to be preseason first team All-American, maybe preseason player of the year. And if you make a Final Four and he wins another Big 12 player of the year and first team All-American, like, I feel like you'd have to put him on this list.
So who would you, if that happens, who are you taking off?
I'd probably.
Yeah, I think I
That's
remember.
tough.
Just because track is not an important sport, I think Kipyego is the one that's like the one that's debatable to me, and so I'd probably replace it with Toppin.
Those are fighting words, man. Jet may have an issue with you there.
Dude, I'm telling you, 11 national titles is insane at distance.
No, I mean that's nuts.
That's such a hard.
That's totally nuts.
That's like
yeah. I'm okay, dude. I mean, you can't take off Swoops and you can't take off Crabtree.
No,
like
agreed.
I'd knock Harrell.
Yeah, I mean, I would knock Harrell. I would put JT Toppin over Graham Harrell.
Dude,
if that happened,
I would knock Pat.
This is maybe a scalding hot take. If Keenan Evans would have made the Final Four, I think he would have been very close to the Mount Rushmore. Even though he doesn't have the individual accolades, he pretty much resurrected your program with Beard and Tubby. Like that's
fair
for you long term trajectory wise. Even though he's not as good, he wasn't as good as Culver was. He's not going to be as good as Toppin was. What he did for your program was undeniable.
When he
and
needed it too.
The eye test too. Like his game just looked better than like Culver's and Toppin's.
Well, yeah. I'm going to take that back. Actually, I would put Toppin over Ludwig because Toppin would have the 2-year. He would have like the same accolade, like twice player of the Big 12 player of the year, but plus a Final Four, an Elite Eight, and or hopefully a Natty and a first team All American. I would put him like basketball trumps golf.
Yeah. There's several that really could be what if. Like we talked about Culver. Culver wins the title. I think he's on there for me. I think that's
for
the
sure.
Lubbock kid that goes and does that. I think that would just be an undeniable resume. It's truly, came down to 15 seconds in Minneapolis that changed it for me.
Yeah, which sucks. Gosh. That's tough.
Can I pivot the conversation or do we have more to say here?
I wanted to bring up Canada. And I don't know where you were going, but I wanted
go ahead.
I mean, I wanted to bring up like if Texas Tech softball is able to come back and win, and then she's going to be there next year, I assume.
Yeah,
she said she was coming back. Yeah.
Okay, so so then you're talking probably 2-time Big 12 Player of the Year, national champion runner-up, regardless of if you win or lose, plus what you got next year, the best player in softball history potentially. With what she could do again next year. I don't know. Like, what if she wins a title? It'd be hard to not put her in consideration as well. But then you're kind of getting into like, who do you leave off? And she would need to put in 2 years of that. Like, I think you need at least 2+ years in the Red Raider uniform. Like a one and done, you're not on the Mount Rushmore of Tech, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the other thing the thing that's actually moved me a little bit on the softball conversation, and I know this shouldn't really count, but how much more culturally relevant it was. I mean, some of these games that they've played in the World Series have outdrawn your football games as far as TV eyes go.
Yeah.
1.5 million views. Like, there are plenty of games you played last year that didn't get that many views for your football program.
Right.
It's a lot more culturally relevant than I thought it was, and I think that would actually help her candidacy a lot. That there are a lot of people tuning into this. There are a lot of people that are going to know who she is.
Now, pushing back on that, I wonder what the views were like in the regular season of softball.
Sure, but I mean, this team actually gave you a reason to watch them in the postseason, which is something your football team hasn't done in 10 years.
I mean, I'm not debating. I'm not debating. I'm just saying, like,
not in a mean way.
All year, like people have watched like 5 games of the softball team. Like, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have. Like, I watched them too.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it's a little bit.
Yeah, but to your point,
different.
if you're comparing women's world softball, like the World Series of softball, to a college football playoff game, the views are probably different. But it's a much bigger sport than I thought it was.
Yeah, I get your.
That's absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so Conrad, where would you want to transition to?
I was going to talk about coaches. If you were going to do a coaches Mount Rushmore, who would you put on there? This is not scripted. That's a question off the dome.
I think there's 3 really easy ones right off the bat. There's a little bit of recency bias, but it's going to be Wes Kitley probably first. It'll be Marcia Sharp after that. It'll be Mike Leach after that. And then it's probably Tadlock.
Yeah, I completely agree on all 4 of those. You could just, if you wanted to go in terms of like national relevance, you could make, but he didn't do it as much. But you could throw a Bob Knight or a Spike Dykes or a type coach into the ring, but they didn't do as much as those 4. I think that's easy. I think I would go 4 for 4 on what Z said.
I would too. I will say, if Beard had not left the way he left and would have left for a North Carolina or a Duke, I definitely could see an argument for Beard. I'm not saying I would. I'm not saying I'd do it, but I said I could see an argument for it.
Hot take: 5 years from now, we will forget that Beard ever even coached our school because McCaslin's going to take us to heights that Beard never took us to.
I completely agree.
I don't even think that's that hot. I'm
One
kind of
year
like,
from
I don't think
now.
that. I don't.
One
that's
year from now.
medium, baby. I don't even think that's how. That might be cold. I don't know.
Dude,
I
yeah.
like that.
If Grant McCaslin leaves, I will have to take a hiatus from the podcast because I will just monologue for 45 minutes about how depressed I am. So just so we're all aware.
It's a therapy.
Same
I
with
wanted to
McGuire.
I wanted to mention this on an episode that we've recorded that we'll release at a later date. But you would be a great therapist. Like
I really would not be.
No, dude, you ask like wonderful questions. There was a question you asked, and I was like sitting there. I didn't want to bring it up on the episode because I was like, I thought it might rub some of the guests the wrong way. But I was like, dude, Z, if I was laying down on the couch or host, if I was laying down on the couch right now and Z asked me that, I feel like I would be able just to talk for an hour. Like, it's like it would be,
I think
my
problem
marriage
with,
problems would be solved. It'd be great if I had Z as my therapist.
but the opening question always has to be: do you realize that you've done all of this to yourself? That would be my question. I would ask a lot in therapy, and that's not going to get me anywhere. So
no, but you're welcome to have a 45-minute monologue. I don't think Grant's leaving anytime. He got the extension. He's a Lubbock guy, man. We're happy to have
Beard. He's already ahead of Beard. Like Beard went elite. Well, I guess they both went Elite 8 in their second year, right?
Yeah, I mean, he needs to do it. I mean, Beard going Elite 8 final or Elite 8 national championship. Like
Sweet
that's
16.
I don't want to take. I don't want to take second round. Yeah. I don't want to take anything away from him and what he did during that time. So Grant still has to earn a couple more tournament runs to surpass that. But he's like we said, and I believe this. I mean, I was reading an article today. It was like tier 1 of Big 12 basketball, and it was BYU, Houston, and Tech. And they were ranking tier 1 as in like these teams can win 6 games in March. Like this is teams that can win a national title from this conference. Texas Tech is there. And so, Grant has the roster and the skill to be able to do it next year. If he does that, I just want to keep looking forward. Like, who would I throw on there? Who would I put on? But he would be on there for me if that happened.
If Grant won national title, he'd be on there for sure immediately.
Yeah.
I mean,
easily.
If Joey takes you to a Big 12 title, that'll be one of the best like Big 12 appearance. Like it'll be your first time there.
And even that,
if Joey does that, he's on. He's on. If we win the Big 12 title this year, he's on for me.
If you win the Big 12 title,
if we win the Big 12, he's absolutely on. Absolutely.
And I think that's hard to replace Leach, but you look at Leach, like he had culture moments, but he never got you to a title game.
Right. Yeah. And that's why it's like if you get to the title and lose, it's like, okay, maybe not yet, but if you get to the title and win, that's something Leach wasn't able to do. It's just a fact. Regardless of the 84 wins that he had at your program, you'd be playing for a playoff. You'd be playing in the college football playoff if Joey's able to knock that out.
Leach would have made the playoff in a 16-team format, which we're going to have. You'll have to like just balance the scales a little bit,
and a 64-team format that he so hard fought for a long time. Yeah,
but McGuire's off to a better start than Leach was at Tech. I mean, I know they're different eras; it's different sports. Tech's in a different spot than they were, but he's off to a better start, which is
but what Joey did his first year though with the roster that he inherited, pretty impressive. Pretty Texas OU same year. I mean.
Random question. Do you think that's the best team he's had since he's been at Tech? The 22 team?
Oof, that's a good question. The team that smoked Ole Miss in the Texas Bowl looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And that was Tyler Shuck, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that
unfortunately
but that team did look pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I can see an argument for that, but I think
also, it was.
Yeah, I think it was too.
It's either that I would lean that way. Yeah,
I just don't think
definitely it's not the 24 team. It's not the
23
24
had Wilson. Like I think your defense was really, really good that year. I think your offense was a little bit worse, but that was like injuries. Like if your team would have been healthy in 23, I think that team would have been better than 22.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but still 8 wins in 3 straight years. I mean, that's pretty good. Leach didn't do that to start.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got the coaches pretty much locked. That was easy.
Yeah.
Let's finish with any last, now that we've had some time to process and think. If you can make one change all out, like one substitute to your Mount Rushmore, it's your final 4. Who is it as we close the show? Conrad, you go.
I'd replace Harrell with Ludwig, just because the recency bias on the tour kind of got me. But I'd replace Harrell with Ludwig. So you
would have Ludwig.
Surprising take.
You'd have Ludwig, Pat, Swoops,
and Crabtree. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'd stick with mine. I think Conrad's arguments about Mahomes are compelling. I want to put Mahomes in. He's probably my favorite athlete.
Then do
in
it.
History.
You have freedom to do it on the podcast.
I know, but I have to stick to my guns here. The criteria that I set out when I was going to do this, I was like, it just those things have
Just
to matter.
say the word.
changed.
Say the three words, Zyler. Conrad, you're right. Just
That's
say it.
4 words.
Just say it.
Your
Your with an apostrophe. I put that as 1. We can make that 4.
Why I'd be a
I don't
terrible
care.
that was great.
Conrad,
I think
you
I really could.
are
I think
right.
It's a coin flip. I think it's a coin flip for me. It depends on the day. But yeah, I think I'll keep him off for now, even though he is my favorite athlete of all time.
Okay, Clayton, you staying
He's
the
going to
same?
be offended.
I would stick with mine. But if Toppin does what we talked about, I would replace Pat with him.
So you've got Pat, Ludwig, Swoops, Crabtree.
Yeah.
Okay, man. I'm just not here for the Graham Harrell slander on this episode tonight. And maybe it's because 12-year-old Brennan was in the Jones, going nuts, running down Broadway, shaking hands. Like, I at 12, I don't know. Maybe it was just like the time, like growing up in that era. Maybe I'm prejudiced to it, but like he still was one of the best all-time leading passers. Like if you're going, who's the best quarterback in your history, to me it's Graham Harrell, like in terms of at Texas Tech. And so because of that, like I'm putting him over Mahomes, and I'm not putting Mahomes in because of what Swoops, Crabtree, and Ludwig did in college. That's my final 4.
Very fair.
Your argument
Very
for
fair.
Graham is why I wanted to put Andre Emmett in so bad, because as a kid, he was so sick.
Yeah,
He
if
won the dunk contest.
if we're talking my 4 favorite athletes, it's a different conversation. Like I think Andre Emmett would be in there, Crabtree, Harrell, and then I'd put Mahomes. Like he'd be in my top 4 favorite.
Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, I might put Jakeem Grant in there.
Keenan Evans is always going to be in the top 4 for me. Keenan will always be there.
Keenan would be tough to not put in there too. But I mean, being a 5'7" small, vertically challenged guy myself, like when I took a picture with Jakeem after it was the K-State game that we won our freshman year in the Jones.
Oh,
like
nice.
the last time he was outside, I took a picture with him, and I was taller than him. I was like, I love this guy. Like, this guy is out there cooking, dude, and I'm taller than it was.
Dude,
forever one of my favorite moments of college.
Oft forgotten memory of Jakeem Grant is how close he was to bringing back and scoring against TCU in that 2015 game.
Yes,
on the last play. Like
he got so close.
He was easily one of the best playmakers you've ever had.
Dude, I think the biggest
Pat
indicator for how good Crabtree was the fact that Jakeem Grant broke his receiving record in his senior year. Like it felt like Jakeem Grant was balling out for 4 years, and he didn't break Crabtree's 2-year record until his last season.
Yeah. Crabtree had that season? He had 1,900 yards, 1962 in 12 games.
And 21 touchdowns, right?
Yeah. His 2008 season was like significantly worse. It was like 800 yards worse.
Mm-hmm.
I love watching highlights of him against like Rice and SMU and like the first 3-4 games he played, because it's like he's like 10 yards away from anybody. It's like the guys that they couldn't even touch him. Like they had no clue where he was. It was just a different level of talent from what he was playing, most nights back in that day. It's just awesome. And I know as Texas Tech fans too, like we do have a bias towards the 07 through 09 seasons because of that squad. Mm-hmm. But it's hard not to put them in. Like it still was like you had some of the biggest wins you've ever had in those moments, and so it's hard to not sit there. And we were young, sure, but like I still feel like that does carry some weight. Like the Texas win, it'd be easy to say like, oh, it didn't mean anything, we didn't win, but like what that win meant for your program at the time was like the best. It was just one of the best moments. Not just in Tech history, but in college football. Like it was one of the best wins in college football history.
Yeah,
it was an iconic game, and for that, I think those guys, it elevates like a Graham, in my opinion, to the Final Four. So
when ESPN had an article about the top 25 games of the 21st century, and that game is consistently around the top 10.
Yeah,
like one of the best games of the last 25 years of the last half century.
Easy.
Yeah. Well, and guys, I love talking about the past, but I'm just really excited for what we talk about in, after the 25, 26, 27 seasons, after the basketball teams wins a national championship, after we win the Big 12 this year, win a college football playoff game, and then we do the same thing again next year. I mean, and then we get invited to the SEC, and then it's just, all that, all that's going to happen and take place. I mean, I love the past, but the future is where it's at. So I don't know how Zyler would feel about that, but I think it's a possibility. You never know.
Me and Greg Sankey have to be on the same team, I'm going to have to do a lot of soul searching about things that I've said in the
There, PZ. I know a guy. I know a guy. Well, man, that was fun. And yeah, let us know in the comments. Continue to debate. Well, I'm sure we'll, be continuing to debate this throughout the summer as well. It's a fun conversation to have, and it's a testament. Conrad, go ahead.
Brennan, we win the Big 12. We win a college football playoff game. Does Barron jump Graham Harrell?
No.
Dude, honestly, if he had a really good statistical season,
it depends on the statistical season.
30 plus touchdowns, less than 10 interceptions.
I'm going to make Conrad feel uncomfortable. If he has Shadur's stat line from last year.
Who?
Shadur.
Shadur. Oh, Shadur. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I just had to ask a question.
The fifth round pick. The fifth round pick, Conrad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fair question. Because
I think he would be close.
It'd be close. I mean, to be fair, if you're going to apply the same logic we did to Joey, like if he wins XYZ or Grant, but I mean, Barron just doesn't have the numbers right now to justify. I don't know. It'd be hard. Like
to say Barron over like Pat or Graham, it would just feel weird.
It would feel weird.
But you're right. What if he just dominates this year? Goes for 4,000 yards and 45 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. It's like,
he's the reason you go 12-1 and win the Big 12, win a playoff game,
I'll
get to the semis.
Feel way different about Barron if that.
Yeah,
it'll be me and myself and I on the podcast, and all of you just won't be able to show your faces.
I hope we have this.
I hope we have that problem. I am a pro Barron guy. Okay, I want to close the show just knowing that I'm rooting for him. I'm not here to antagonize him. Mm-hmm. I'm just pissed the kid never texted me back twice.
Okay, I'll say something. Beatles is back on RRS, and any of you that are on there, he did a bunch of really good detailed analysis probably 2 years ago on football scheme and different things like that. He broke down the Leftwich offense on Red Raider Sports. So if you're not there, go hop on over. It's got me pretty excited for Barron's season. The Kool-Aid is flowing, and it's flowing in great quantities right now. I'm feeling a spicy season.
It's only June 4th, man.
My wife says I can't talk about football till July 1st. That's her cutoff. I can't talk to her about any of that. I know. So yeah,
you broke that rule.
Well, she's listening to you right now.
Well, I'm excited. Then we'll have to get more into that as well next time on the show too. So we will be back on Monday for a special. We have a few special guests. I'll leave it at that. Coming on the show Monday, so make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss that episode. Z, I think we're releasing your first summer series this weekend, yes?
Yeah, well, we'll start with Arizona. I've had some scheduling conflicts with Arizona State, so that one won't release this weekend. But yeah, we'll do Arizona State and Baylor next weekend. Then we'll kind of work through them alphabetically. We'll have some written content coming soon. I'm almost done with Iowa State. Going to be really neat. We're going to do win totals. We're gonna pick a preseason first team, second team, Big 12 team. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have
that's going to be on our Twitter and then links on our videos.
It's going to be all over the place. You can also ask me about it in person, and I can just spout it off to you. If you
I love it. I love it. So make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, never miss an episode. Roughly 50% of our listeners are subscribers, so there's a whole 50% of you that will need to subscribe to this video. So we look forward to that, and do not miss our Monday episode. I'll just say that. But look out for Z's summer series as well. And let us know in the comments who your Mount Rushmore of Texas Tech athletes are. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the Broadway Shuffle. Wreck 'em.